Good morning, guys, or afternoon, or whatever it is.
How are you? Good afternoon. Your club's come a long way in just 3 years. Did the last 7 games provide you an indication of how much further you've got to go?
Yeah, I mean, it rips the heart of your chest. I mean, last year when we lost out in the playoffs, I don't think it was devastating to anybody. I think this year, you're set up, you're right there, you're ahead, you got it going good, and just goes to show you how fragile things are at times. In saying that, I'm real proud of our group, proud of our players, our management team. They've done a good job of getting players, and players have done a good job of getting better and working hard. And our lineup has changed drastically over the years. And now we got a team that we think is set up to be a good team. We're still going to have lots of work to do this summer. In saying that, we're like, I don't know how many teams. There's 8 teams playing and we're not. We want to be playing. And so we gotta get to work. That's what we talked about in all our exit meetings with all our players, is the work you do this summer allows you to play 8 weeks instead of 2 weeks. And we have to identify what we need to be better at individually and then collectively, and continue to make strides if we want to have success.
Coach, it's only been 36 hours to digest, but you talk about the pain. Is part of that the fact that the moment, you talk about the moment was there. 20 minutes, it was there in front of you, and just the way, I mean, the stage was set, and
yeah, we didn't do it. Like, I mean, the bottom line, though, is you work your whole life for opportunities, and you keep working, and sometimes you put in the work and you're disappointed anyway. But to me, if you do it over and over again, your opportunities, it turns your way. I'm a big believer in that. So we're disappointed the way it ended. We're glad to have had the opportunity. We thought we played a real good Boston team. We think we're a good hockey club. In the end, they advanced, and in the third period, when they scored 4-on-4, we even won the face-off, for crying out loud. You drive me crazy, but ends up in the back of our net. Then they get the other 4-on-4 goal off the rush. We have 3 guys there. They have 1 guy goes in the net. We didn't recover, and we had a TV timeout, I think it was. We had lots of time to gather guys and lots. We didn't recover, and so they're going to play. And they're going to forget that they had a 7-game series. You only remember the 7-game series when you lose. The other guys are going on. They're going to get on to more things. So we just got to keep getting better as a club. That's it.
Hey, Coach, when you look at the big picture and you see over the past couple of years how much progress you've made, are you where you thought you'd be, or do you still think you're ahead of the game?
Well, I mean, if you were asked me at the time, obviously, miles ahead of the game. And saying all that, I'm like every other human being. I'm greedy. We want more. And we really thought this playoff series was great for our young guys. There was no room, no space. It was hard on them. And sometimes the best growing opportunity is there's those little speed bumps in life, and they lead to taking the next step because they challenge you mentally and physically. And sometimes getting slapped is the best thing for growth, because you dig in that hard. You don't like it. You don't like the feeling. I mean, when we're suddenly going from what we think we're going to be winning to losing, nobody on that bench is very happy. You're disappointed. You're mad. You're frustrated. You're whatever you want to call it. It's not the feeling you want to have.
Where do you see, Coach, the growth of Austin and Mitch and Willie this year? And do you see perhaps Willie as a center more next year than you might have this year, sort of thing?
Well, I'll just deal with the Willie one on center. I'm not certain. That'll depend on our lineup. Okay, so then as far as, I thought Mitch had a tough start. I thought Mitch took his pills early this year. Those lessons we talked about happened early. It didn't go for him. He struggled. Once he got going, though, I thought he really got going. And then his I don't know if it's a relationship with Marlowe. I don't know if playing with Naz. I don't know what it was, but he got better and better. And, I mean, he was a real factor at playoff time. I thought Matty came into training camp on fire, got off to an unbelievable start, hurt his back. I don't think at any time after that he ever skated the way Matty can skate. And the next injury was his head, and so he couldn't skate at that time too. And even though in his last injury with his shoulder, so it's 20 games there, he was able to push it. His skating never got back to the level he was at. For Matty, and the two other guys are wingers. It's way easier to be a winger than a center. And when you're playing against the best players in the world, you got to have a 200-foot game, and it was harder for him. And so the other thing is we played a good defensive team in the playoffs. I think goals for and goals against, if I'm not mistaken, Boston was right there with goals against. They were stingy. So when you measure yourself stats-wise, I thought it was hard for those guys. So early in the playoffs, it was really hard for him. I thought Willie got going, and it was just the way it is. But once again, and I want to say this, lots of times when you play and you play lots of rounds, sometimes your first round doesn't go as good, but then 2 rounds in, your points look good and everyone thinks you're doing good, and no one knows you struggled at the start. Now, sometimes you're struggling is them just playing good.
Mike, does the offseason focus here have to be on improving the blue line and getting a stud, if you will? Is that required to move on? So we're not talking about this again at the end of the first round next year.
Well, I guess what I would say to you is this, is that you always investigate everything you can do. It's not like we went into the summer last summer and said, we're getting Patrick, Marleau, and Hainsey. It doesn't work like that. Lots of the best deals you ever did, I remember the best deal when I was in Detroit was getting Rafalski. We tried to spend all the money on someone else. They turned it down when it never got Rafalski. So for me to tell you exactly what's going to happen, I can't tell you. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to do what we can to improve our hockey club.
Okay, then the second part of that question would be, is that where the focus has to be then in the offseason, if you're comfortable in that and you like the guys you have up front?
No, I think we got free agents up front too, right? So I think we got a lot of area. We got work to do.
Mike, I'm sure you're aware of the report on Sportsnet that your relationship with Austin is troubled.
I heard about that last night at 11 o'clock. I went to my daughter's grad yesterday, so I never got a chance. Yeah, so someone texted me about it. I text him back. I'll find out in the morning. I'll meet him, and I'll ask him in the morning. I said, that's how I started today. I said, what's going on? And Austin was pissed off in the third period in the last 10 minutes last game. Probably 23 other guys on the team are the same. I think, what's interesting in Toronto is you guys do such a good job. You're everywhere. You're under the bench. You're in the crack in the door. You're in the car. You're in the parking lot. You're everywhere. And so anytime anybody does anything, there's a big story. And sometimes, I don't know, is it 12% of the time it's true? I think Austin and I have a good relationship. I asked him that exactly today. I've told Austin a lot about it. I really got a ton of respect for Austin's mom and dad. They parent him. And so when parents give you their children, they expect you to treat them like you'd treat your kid. I try to push Austin to be better every day. I make it very clear to him if I'm pushing too far, get in my office and tell me. Now, the other thing about the bench, sometimes people snap on people. So what? It's the game. But just because we got all you guys here, we turn it into something that's not. I asked him flat out, do we have any? He was sitting right there. We don't seem to. But, you can do what you want with the stories all you want. No, I think Austin's a young man trying to be the best player in the world, wants to get better. I think he's like everybody else on our team, disappointed today. I think the hardest part in life is when you're disappointed, you thought you maybe could have done more yourself. That's the hardest part. I know that for me as a coach, when I feel like I didn't get what I should have done, it makes you sick almost. So he's a good young man. We're lucky to have him. I'm lucky to get to coach him, and we continue to grow our product here with him leading the way.
Mike, do you think this dressing room is ready for a captain for next year?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet. You know, we have Hainsey and Marlowe in that group that have really done a really nice job for us and really provided leadership. You know, I think it's something maybe that you guys think we need more than we think we need it. If someone's ready, I think being the captain in a lot of franchises is a lot easier place than in Toronto. And so do we need to put the extra weight on somebody? I don't know the answer to that question. We'll talk about that this summer. We'll make a decision.
Mike, Jake obviously had a rough game in Game 7 and came out and spoke and has taken some heat. What does it say about him that he was willing to stand up and face the music after that game?
Okay, so let's not put this all on Jake Gardner. You do this together as a coaching staff, as players, as goaltenders, the whole crew together. I think it's important in life to own your own. I don't think you got to throw yourself under the bus, though. I thought Jake could have just simply said, hey, I wasn't as good as I should have been, and that would have been it. I think we just talked about this. I think any time in life where you felt like you could have done more yourself, those are the biggest disappointments. I think that's what Jake expressed. I made it very clear to him today, don't be living with that. The little slap you give yourself so you train harder this summer and work more, great. The rest, though, move on.
Take two last questions. You mentioned a lot of free agents, especially up front. What have Komarov and JVR and Bozak meant to this group in the last few years?
Well, I think a lot. JVR's got better every year that I've been here. I mean, he has a skill set. He can score in front of the net. He's got long reach. He loves hockey, and he tries to get better in any way he possibly can. I thought Bozak, in the 3 years I've been here, had his best year this year. Competitive, good on the power play, way better without the puck than you think. Good in the face-off circle. I thought he was an important part for our team. And then Leo's just Leo, and what I mean by that is the people in the room and the people that run the hockey club value him way more than the fans and the media do, because he does everything right every single day. He's an unbelievable pro. He's like Poley in that way. They do it right all the time. They're the guys you need. We could have really used Leo and Naz, for that matter, in the playoffs. Could have really used them. So we think they're important pieces. The great thing about what they've been able to do is if they've worked hard to set themselves up for the situation they have right now. They should exercise their option and figure out what's best for them and their family. I don't think the Leafs are out of the mix there, and yet in saying that, business is business, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Again, back to those three forwards. When Willie self-analyzed his game, he said that he didn't think he was good enough at being consistent at his best through 60 minutes of every hockey game, and that's his goal. Would you agree with that sort of self-analysis?
Well, I think Willie's, you know, it's interesting. You always come back to the three guys with the most talent, because that's what we're enamored with, is that. But the way they can really help themselves is by becoming more consistent, by becoming better pros, by training harder, by doing it right. When you do it right every single day, when you come to practice and you're detail-oriented and you're competitive, when the game starts, it just happens naturally. So your habits in your life got to become like that for you to be successful on a regular basis. I think Willie's as good a kid as, they're all great kids, but he's a great kid who wants to be good. And he wants more, and I like the fact that he wants more. So those guys went through, I don't know how many points they had in the regular season. They're around 60-some or whatever. Matty scored probably at the highest rate per game. I think Mitch Ledson scored, and Willie's right there. When you go through the playoffs, though, is because you played such a short time, you look at your resume, you go, geez, I wanted more for myself. That's the part that makes guys... you know, it makes you want more. That's what he's going to do. He's going to commit to doing that. We just talked about this a minute ago. He wants to be a better player, and we want him to be a better player, so it works out good for both of us.
Would you foresee, as you whiteboard things, and I know there's changes coming, Austin and Mitch maybe playing more together, or is that you still like both those guys? In a different
Yeah, no, I don't know if I see that or don't see it. The great thing about it is like I said, I went to Michigan yesterday, I had my daughter's grad. I've done no whiteboard work or napkin work, or I haven't even had a beer yet, for crying out loud. So I haven't done any of those things, tell you the truth. So much depends on who you acquire and how you acquire them. I think you guys want them to play together. I want to win. So that's what goes in someone's phone here. Anybody want me to answer or just say hello or anything? So, that's what I want to do. Was that my last question? So just in wrapping up, for me anyway, is coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs is an unbelievable privilege. What you people do for our franchise, and sometimes you don't get the respect you deserve because you make it hard, but you also make it great. And the coverage we get is second to none, and that's why our franchise can have the kind of people we have at the games, and the people in the quarter, and the people in the bars, and our message to our fans is simple: we're doing everything we can to get our franchise to the next level, so you can all be real proud, and we appreciate the coverage. Have a great day.